Welcome to the Who Anime Podcast. Hope you enjoy listening. Welcome to the Who Anime Podcast. With me, we have Astiel again, and
Hi.
unfortunately, we have Andrew again.
Ouch.
Ouch,
Thanks.
indeed.
Wrecked.
At this point, he'll end up being our Krendor.
What's a Krendor? Anyway. No, I remember you've made that joke before.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, unfortunately, the person who was supposed to be our guest for episode 2 couldn't make it, so that'll hopefully be episode 3, if not pushed back to later. But instead, again, we have Andrew, so he's here every day. Why not?
Yes, hello, hi, I am still here. They've kept me locked up. Please let me out. Call 911.
Call 911. The anime they're showing me is starting to get worse.
It's not wrong.
Okie dokie. So, the anime that we are discussing today is... Just a sec, I need to look up its name because it is a mouthful.
It's kind of ridiculous.
Right. Okay. The name of the anime is Problem Children Are Coming from Another World, Aren't They? Or in Japanese, Mondaiji-tachi ga isekai karakuru so desu yo. So, yeah. What initial thoughts? What did you guys think?
Dean!
Pretty much. I don't know. It was okay. I didn't love it, I didn't hate it. It just sits in this middle ground of like, eh.
Well, yeah, that's kind of why I thought it was a good one to cover, though, because I feel like we've done the what is an excellent top-notch anime. Now we can go to something that has flaws for sure, but also has good traits. So that's what we've ended up doing.
Of the things I have watched, I think it is my favorite turn off your brain and have fun anime.
Yeah, I would say that. So, I guess for starters, let's say whether or not we would recommend this anime. And I'll go first with that, and I would say it depends. It depends on what kind of anime you're interested in watching.
For me, I don't think I would recommend it because it's in such a lukewarm place for me that I will probably honestly forget about it the instant this podcast is over. I mean, it was fine. I just feel like if you want to watch an anime that's good, or you're actively seeking anime to watch, you have better options than this. And if you want to find something that's like really awful so you can make fun of it, you have something better to find than this as well.
Yeah, because this definitely isn't awful. In fact, there was another anime that was released with an almost similar concept to it, which was more recently No Game, No Life. And there's a lot of comparisons you can make with that to this show, but I would say overall, No Game No Life focuses like almost exclusively on the otaku crowd, so it got more popular in that circle. But I would say this one overall works better as an anime.
I would recommend it if there was more of it and it was good.
Is it not good?
Yeah, I do kind of wish
No,
that there was
if
more
the
of it.
more
If the
was
more
good, I
is
mean.
good. Yeah.
Yeah.
It would have been nice for there to have been more, for sure.
Yeah,
Mhm.
at current it's sort of in that place where this could most likely be so much better if they decided to make more of it.
Yeah. And looking at it, I'm just going to check. If it's the novel's original run has officially ended. It actually ended as of April Fools on 2015. It also started on April Fools of 2011.
Quite appropriate.
Yep. But yeah, so considering that it ended in 2015, I would say if they were like attempting to like finish off the like make another season of the anime, it's entirely possible that now that it's finished they will do that. Because of course like the process of making anime is quite long, and speaking from experience, waiting for anime that I know will be made to come out, it could definitely be as late as 2017 if was started this year or last year, I should say, because it is the 1st of January.
See, the thing about that is, I think that the creators will probably forget about it by then too. So,
Creators? I don't think so. Like, this was actually pretty popular when it came out. I'll just have a look at the studio that produced it. I could. Oh my god, looking at this studio, I could definitely see them going back to this. Just because I'm looking at the stuff that they've put out since Problem Children, and honestly, Problem Children is the best thing they put out.
that's kind of, I mean, that's. Here's what I would say about Problem Children. It is the most average anime I've ever seen. And the fact that that's the best thing that they've made, that's a
I
little
feel like
concerning.
you need to watch more anime to understand what an average is. Most
Well,
anime
I
the
said
average
that I've
anime
ever
is
seen.
worse than this. Yeah,
I said that I've seen.
that you've seen. Well, I thought by that you meant the most average, like, of all. Okay, of the average of what you've seen is, I guess, what you mean by that. Then, yeah, that makes sense. My bad. But I promise you, this is better than other things that the studio has put out. We could go into that later because we're not here to talk about other anime. We're here to talk about this. So first off, let's kind of explain what the gist of the story is. 3 kids with magical powers, for lack of a better word, receive a letter, and this letter transports them to a place called the Little Garden, where something called the gift games take place. And these gift games are where you put your gift or other gifts that you have acquired on the line and do battle in games between each other with a bunch of different rules. That about covers it, right? For how
Yeah,
it starts?
I mean, more or less.
Yeah.
And when they get to Little Garden, they are problem children, because that's the title of the show.
Indeed.
Astiel, you take over. My mind is too melted.
Oh god. And they were worried about me being tired this late.
I wasn't worried about it.
Oh god. I have to do actual host things. I can't just sit back and let Lobo do everything like last time.
Told ya.
Yay, editing magic.
Magic editing. By the way, you saying editing magic will be in there now.
Uh-huh. Oh god.
But that'll break the illusion.
Too bad.
No illusion. When we do this live, it'll be not possible to do edits. And I do intend to do live podcasts at some point.
Yes.
Maybe when there's people who would watch. Sad.
Maybe
face.
when we're not quite as bad.
We're not bad. We're just not talking on a podcast. That isn't bad, is it?
Define bad.
Not good.
Define good.
We are suboptimal
Monica
podcast
Magica.
hosts.
Anyway, so they get. So you're just buying time for me to come in again, aren't you? You have no intention of actually saying anything.
I have no idea what to say.
So after they get
I
to
didn't
Little
make
Garden,
notes
they
before
find
this.
they find out that there is a community called the No Names. Their name has been stolen from them by a demon lord. And they decide to help them get them back by playing a sequence of games against other people to win their name back. Eventually. But we don't see that because that doesn't happen.
Spoilers.
And then Izuoi punches out a god. Kicks out a god. Yes.
And he axe kicks a laser beam.
Yes. Yes, he does.
Does that make sense?
He
Izuyoi-
broke the laser beam too.
Izuyoi is not gifted. Izuyoi is the gift.
He was a very fun character, though.
Hmm.
Like,
For how OP he was a lot more fun than I thought he would be, but I still didn't like him.
oh. But yeah, he is kind of just like the insert win condition here character. Honestly, like if you were to compare this to Sword Art Online, I feel like Kirito is way less OP than Izayoi is. At least Kirito is like in relative danger in most of the situations he's in. He still wins, but
At least Izayoi is relatable.
what?
Shots fired.
Izayoi is relatable? Like what?
More
Superman
relatable
looks
than
at him as
Kirito.
like, yeah, I get that feel.
I'm comparing him to Kirito, yes,
I wouldn't say that.
but we're not talking about Sword Art.
Yeah.
By the way, Andrew doesn't like Sword Art Online.
It's the most beautiful turd I've ever seen.
So let's start talking about the characters because I feel
Yes,
like the story
we've already
isn't
started doing that.
Yeah. So we have Izayoi who is basically God mode. I own everybody. Sometimes maybe I get injured if they're lucky. But other than that,
If
general
they're
badass.
if they're a demon given divinity, as
Yeah,
in something that can destroy anything that isn't Izayoi.
and he still loses. To be fair though, we never saw him actually versus the Black Death. That would have been I don't know how strong the Black Death was supposed to be, but I feel they looked to be stronger than Izayoi.
Well, that one dude, the Messer River dude, he gave him a lot of trouble.
Yeah, and it was the Black Death was the reason that dude got stronger. So like, how strong can a person make somebody else stronger? Like, did they make them more strong than themselves? I feel like that's not the case. So the Black Death would be stronger than them at the very least, right?
I I took it as like they unlocked something within him or something, rather than her giving him the power. I don't know. I could be wrong.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's like the rules are very tight and loose at the same time for this, especially in anime form.
I
And
have a feeling we're giving this more thought than it deserves.
This is the thought. This is the place the thought for this show comes from. There is no thought to the plot. Don't try and think about that because then you realize
Exactly.
how not plot this show is. You
Yes,
gotta think about the ideas and like the cool fight scenes.
Cool fight scenes and whether or not you like the characters. That's basically the anime, yeah.
And I would say I like the four main casts like Black Rabbit, Izayoi, Yo, and Asuka. I like all those characters. I think they're good characters.
I
Like
felt like as much as I liked her, Yo felt like you're more of a generic, stoic female character, like kind of like Rei from Neon Genesis, that kind of thing, for a while, and that was boring to me. I didn't really like Izuyue because he was just OP. I didn't really like Black Rabbit because she was pretty much there for eye candy, and it was
well,
annoying.
it was also kind of a joke on eye candy, right?
Yeah,
Like,
it was a joke, and I kind of appreciated some of what they did with that, but
like with
the
the
whole
skirt,
every
you can never
I
see
mean,
upper skirt. It's
I
magic.
guess that, sure. But I don't know. I felt like every time they were dealing with anything relating to like the fan service type stuff, if they had spent the time building out the characters instead, or building out the world a little bit more, then I would have probably enjoyed the show a lot more. Because
they only gave
the
it 10 episodes, so like that's not very much.
yeah, and they're not given very much for the story to begin with, and then they take half of the show to talk about fan service.
Yeah.
It's
By the
kind
way,
of
don't
grating.
watch the OVA episode. If you want to see how bad this show can go fan service, oh boy, that extra episode, that is some serious attempt at fitting in every possible major fan service trope in existence.
I'll just make sure I never watch that.
Astiel, do you remember it?
I don't think I ever watched it.
Let's just say dissolving clothes and tentacles are involved at some point.
This is
Classy.
This is the doing of Shiroyasha, isn't
Uh, kind it actually
it?
no, because I'm pretty sure her clothes are part of the clothes that are dissolving, and she even complains, "Why also me?" Anyway, so yeah, so okay, we talked about Izuyoi. So then there's Yo. Yeah, you're right. Just kind of a stoic character, but I mean, they weren't the worst stoic character ever. And in fact, at least they're not like stoic in a weird, crazy way.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I was talking about that and I didn't like that, I did. She was probably my favorite character aside from her cat.
From the cat.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, the cat. Probably my favorite character, which is kind of sad.
Yeah. Although, like, I'm not a like. See, the thing is, like, when we were discussing Madoka, it was like every time you said something negative, I'd immediately jump down your thumb and be like, "No, let me explain to you why this is good." And then for this one, it's like, "No, I get it. I get exactly what you're saying." It's like I've probably just seen this anime too many times. I think this watch of it might be my fourth or fifth time watching it all the way through.
Why would you watch it that many times? I mean, you can
Because
watch
it's
the
a
opening without it.
okay. So okay, well, we'll get to the opening and all that afterwards. But so so then you have Yo. Okay, so then we have Asuka, the girl who has the ability to control things. I thought out of all the characters, her character was the best written. Like,
That's probably true.
Mm, yeah, yeah.
just because like you actually go in, like you repeatedly get like clips of her past where she's been in this like really rich family, but she's like completely fed up with everything because it's like, yeah, I can control everyone in the world. That's great. So I get everything I want no matter what. So basically, like the gift games world in Little Garden is like the perfect place for her because it's like she gets to start building a life from scratch, and there are people who can who can not be influenced by her abilities. So it's like, what does the? It's kind of it, okay. So I guess we are getting into philosophical questions, but it's
Oh,
like,
good.
what would the wish of a person who had everything be, right?
Hmm.
So that's just an interesting take on that philosophical question. But it's not like it gets way. It doesn't get into universal. Well, actually, I guess there is a bit of. Is it string theory
Oh God.
that they went into? But we don't have to go there.
Oh right, the intersecting worlds
That they just
nonsense.
talk about for like a couple minutes and never mention again.
Yeah, that was one thing about the show that really bothered me. They, like, passingly mention a lot of cool concepts and then
Well,
never
okay,
fully go
so
for it.
the problem with that is if there was more, they could go into it further.
Exactly.
And honestly, this is only like this anime. These 10 episodes are about 1/6 of the entire novel series. So you're looking at like almost 80% more possible anime that could exist. So like there could be 50 episodes of this show, and there's only 10. So I feel like they could definitely flesh stuff
Look,
out if they got more anime.
Lobo, you're working from the wrong direction. It would be 500% more, not 80% more. 80% more would be 8 more episodes.
I mean,
This
it's
isn't the
twenty
Who Math
percent.
podcast.
That's what I mean is the amount we got is 20% of the total that could exist.
Yes. Yes, that is what you mean.
That is what I mean. That's what I intended to say.
Mean? We're talking about more math stuff? Come on.
Stop being mean
Mm.
to me. Anyway,
But yeah, um, yeah, I was about to say that probably the reason why Asuka seems like the best written character is because she is actually just the character that we have the most exposure of.
yeah, because it's kind of like Yo. Well, Yo takes a seat in a lot of the show. She gets wrecked, and then everybody else goes saves the day. That's almost what happens every time, and it's kind of sad.
Yeah, that was really annoying.
But at
I
the same
really wanted
time,
to see her
it
succeed.
is understandable because the way, like, okay, let's look at the powers of each of the characters. So you have Izuyoi, who's OP, he's like a god. In fact, he beats gods. So you have that. Then you have Asuka, who theoretically can control anything, because anything that she can't influence with her own power, she could then just defeat with the things that she can control, which is also really OP. Yo, on the other hand, her ability is more like, okay,
The
so if
power of friendship.
no, yeah, well, it is, it is,
The powers of friendship, to be
yes.
specific.
But the way I'm looking at it, which is why I think all three of them are equal, is because Izuyoi is just like the max. So, like, okay, an interesting thought that I had, but and so like we never see Asuka use her ability on Izuyoi, because I don't believe either of them, and this is interesting, I don't believe either of them wants to know the outcome of who would win that fight. Like, can Asuka's power control Izuyoi, which is dubious at best. Izuyoi is clearly OP. He'd probably break free of it, but on the off chance that he couldn't, if basically Izuyoi wouldn't want to pick that fight, because if it turns out Asuka can control him, he loses no matter what. And Asuka doesn't want to pick the fight with him, because if she can't control him, then she loses no matter what. So I think that's just like an interesting, like, unstoppable force and immovable object sort of thing going on between them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we have girl who communes with animals and obtains their powers through friendship. That's, I believe, is actually the strongest of the three powers. And you can argue that probably because the thing is, like, there has to be an animal that is as strong as Izuyoi. But if she did befriend it, then she would be as strong as Izuyoi plus all of her other powers that exist. Like, Izuyoi has done a lot, but he technically hasn't flown. He can jump really fast, but technically... In fact, there was even the moment when he was doing the game of tag with Black Rabbit, when she's like, I've won, and then drops down. He's like, crap, I can't catch up to her. So I guess I have to wreck this building and kill people, but not really kill people because luck happened, I guess. But, yeah, just, he can't fly. But Yo can now. So it's just kind of interesting that basically, I think eventually Yo could become stronger than both of them just because of the way her ability works. It is like the accumulation of small powers, whereas the other two are just large powers to start with. So that's why I think we didn't see much of Yo then, because I think probably throughout the original light novel's progression, she becomes stronger and stronger as it goes, until probably by the end she's as strong as they are. Because that makes the most sense for storytelling, and that would be good storytelling. Right? It's just, unfortunately, we only got 10 episodes, so we're out of luck in that regard. And then you have... So, those are the three problem children. And then you have Black Rabbit. We're not going to really get into the other characters in the show, but then there's Black Rabbit, the fan service character. And the one who is just, like, the butt of all the jokes. What did you think of Black Rabbit, SDL?
Well, for some reason... my brain just sort of tunes out fan service, so to me she was just adorable.
Oh. I bet Andrew wishes he could have that function in his brain.
I mean, I don't know. Anything that impedes the storytelling for me really just gets on my nerves, and...
Okay, I can see what you mean. So basically, whenever they would go into their comedy routines where she smacks them with a fan...
Yeah, there was
that would bother you a lot.
When I first met Shiroyasha, like, they spend like 2 or 3 minutes just fan service, like jumping on her boobs. I don't know, just
her legs specifically.
No, like Shiroyasha buries her face in
that
what's her name's boobs. Yeah, like that. Why? there's nothing there that
Because
lends itself to good
reasons.
storytelling. And stuff like that just really bothers me because like I said earlier, they had a lot of really cool ideas that they touched on briefly that they could have explored a little bit more if the fan service just wasn't there. If they had taken as much time with the fan service and given that to important stuff, then it could have been a much cooler anime for me.
I definitely agree with that. While the fan service I don't think needed to be there, I do think that the comedy was an important part of the show. Just because like maybe not all of the comedy works when it's just like, yes, we I will not give you my black rabbit's legs, that kind of thing. That humor could do without, but it like the humor for example in the first episode where Black Rabbit is introducing Yo and Asuka to her community, and it's like these three. Wait a second, where'd he go? And she's like, and the two girls are just like, he left, and they're having this conversation about like why did he leave? He told us that he was going here. Why didn't you tell me? He told us not to tell you. Are you sure he didn't tell? He told you not to tell me, and you just didn't bother. And I just thought that was a really funny conversation.
Yeah,
Like
some of the comedy landed. There was a specific moment of comedy that I can't quite remember. But it has its funny moments, and comedy is fine as long as it doesn't. I don't know. I don't know why comedy is okay for me, but not fan service. But I don't know.
well, technically, like, I feel like you're the problem. Like the her humor that wouldn't have hit with you would have been the humor based on fan service, right? Like, did you like the whole joke about her skirt? Not you can't see her panties with her skirt because there's a gift put on it that makes that impossible.
I mean, it was. I didn't hate it.
But it wasn't an hilarious joke for you either.
No.
In
I.
contrast, Shuryasha is my favorite supporting character. I, because she makes me laugh.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, the funniest part for me was probably the very beginning where you see Izuyoi laying on the beach or laying on the like next to the river, and then he just like throws the rock and a bunch of explosions happen. I don't know. That moment was a lot funnier to me than anything else in the
part
show.
of it I imagine though, because of course this is the first time you watched this. Part of it was because you weren't expecting that, right?
Yeah, probably.
Because it's just like that's the thing. Like a lot of good, like the best humor that like makes you just blurt out laughing is just
Yeah.
it's
It
just
subverts your expectations. That's the best comedy, that's the best storytelling. If you didn't expect it and did a good job with it, then it works and it's good.
yeah.
Yeah,
And that's
whereas
definitely like I if you remember thing I was talking I messaged you a bit ago yesterday or something about Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Yeah, like did you that's exactly like that what I said in that message. That's exactly the kind of like that's a good story because I believe they were going to do something and they did something completely different and that something different was what I wanted them to do. I was thinking they were going to do the thing I didn't want. But
We'll have to talk about this later.
yo, we're not no we're not spoiling Game of Thrones on this podcast.
mm,
Anyway.
Spoiler alert, the Orange Walkers die.
Anyway, so that's all to do with the characters and the story. There's not really point getting into the story. If this was the full 50 episode possible anime, maybe we'd go proper into the story, but there's so little to talk about. It's just kind of like a new bad guy shows up and they cleverly beat them
yeah.
unless it's just through brute force they win.
Madoka was dense. This is saturated. It's not so much that there's story as much as things happen and the characters do things.
Yeah. It's very like just reactionary. Like there's not a big well, there is a big drive, but they don't do anything for in that regard. Like they do pretty much nothing towards getting their name back. We don't even know the name of the demon lord who took it, so it's like, well, yeah, there's nothing we know or can do about that. But that's that. So now let's
But we
get
can grow pumpkins now.
yay pumpkins. So there's that, and now let's get into the animation, which I thought wasn't terrible. The animation has has good moments in it. There were definitely uh, cheap looking moments in it as well, but overall I would say it worked on an
Mhm.
animation level. What do you think?
It's not particularly good, but it's not bad.
Yeah, it's not. I don't know. It was fine. It worked. There wasn't any really standout moments for me, good or bad. It was an average anime.
Hmm. Yeah, that is about it. So, other than animation, then we have let's talk about the voice acting first in regards to sound. So, for the voice
Mhm.
acting though, I would say the voice acting was spot on. Like most Japanese subtitles, like you'd have to go back to like before 2005 before you start finding actual bad sounding Japanese voices. But yeah, no, I liked all the voices. They were all they fit whatever character they were trying to be. In fact,
Mhm.
I had an interesting, funny moment with a character that I thought I recognized, and I'll tell you about that later, Astiel, because I don't want to go too deep into it. But basically,
Mhm.
I thought I recognized the voice actor, so I looked up that voice actor, and he was in this anime, but as a different character.
Ah.
But I think he did both characters as the thing. I just heard the first one first, and on Wikipedia he wasn't credited for that role, but I think it was both of them were him because that's something that can happen a lot in anime. If it's like a small role, then they could have the same guy fill in for both. But that's all. So what do you think? Was the voice acting okay?
Yeah, I didn't have any problems with it. Uh, the only thing that I guess immediately stood out, mostly because of familiarity, was the fact that sure, between the immediate mannerisms of the character and the voice itself, I immediately recognized Shirayashi's voice actress as the one that does Kuroko from, Index, Railgun, all that good stuff.
Ah, I actually didn't recognize that, but yeah, that is a pretty interesting voice actor. In fact, there's another anime we could cover that is another one that's like, hey, if there was more of this, it'd be better. And that voice actress is actually like the narrator for that show. But we
Hmm.
can get that's Okami-san and her seven companions, or Wolf Sama and her seven companions. It's it's a joke on a bunch of fairy tales,
Uh,
while it being like a high school slice of life sort of thing. It's weird. We can look at it later though. Andrew, what did you think of the voice acting?
I thought it was absolutely average.
Just like everything else except one aspect of the show, which we'll go into now, which is the music. Other than the completely super ridiculously average background music, the opening and ending
The
themes for
opening is
the
fantastic.
yeah,
opening and ending themes are amazing for this show. Like I
yeah.
love them to death. The and like maybe you don't agree with the ending because you didn't say ending, but yes, no, the opening is definitely great. The animation is behind it is great. The music is amazing. And then the ending theme, which the animation is adorable and the music is derpy but fun.
Hmm.
So yeah, so like I absolutely love the opening and ending themes. That's I can't get enough of listening to either of them.
The, I think this so far is the only anime where both the opening and endings have actually made it to my main playlist.
Yeah, because they're good. Like,
Hmm.
and what else is there to talk about?
Mm,
Is that everything?
I guess. I don't know. What else is there?
I don't know.
hmm.
I cannot rightly recall.
Dean.
Dune.
That character was so out of left field. Anyway,
I guess we'll end the podcast here because I can't think of anything else to talk about.
all in all, average anime. There's better, there's worse.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Watch it if you like things that you like to
It-
watch.
Watch the opening.
Yeah.
That's what I'll recommend. Watch the opening.
Watch
the
the
opening is
opening, yeah.
fantastic. That's all you need
and
to
if
do.
you and if you like the anime after watching a bit of it, watch the ending because the ending is adorable.
If they ever make more of it, you should probably watch it.
Yeah,
assuming that the more is good.
If the full novel series gets made into anime, I imagine it'll become a huge thing. Just because there'll be like legitimately like cliffhanger interesting moments going on instead of just sort of like it just nothing like the it didn't really end. The anime didn't end. There was no ending to this anime. It just
They just resolved the current arc.
Yeah. But yeah, if you see more of this, which if we're going to see it 2017 or 18, I imagine is when we'll see it and we'll hear word of it sometime this year or next, which would be nice. But I won't hold my breath for it because I do not believe it was that popular of a thing. I mean, it was definitely not terrible. Again, I will say, in the grand scheme of anime, there are many, many worse anime than this. But overall, yeah, average. Anyway,
Yes.
That's the podcast. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.
Adios. Maybe they'll let me out this time.